Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. Let's get back to this ridiculous story that nobody can believe. I mean, at some point, it's just sad, right? It is just sad. Let's recap for those of you, right, who want to savor every moment of the story. Carl Jobs lost to Billy Mitchell in court, right? About a million Australian around there, 650K US. He now works part-time for Billy Mitchell, at least, because he got to write him a check. Right? The court sends him a check. And his response to that is, well, he's not going to get everything. Well, he might. Billy Mitchell could have a plan, like he always does, right? And he can film every check coming in and start counting $100 bills for everybody to see how much you work for him. That's the position you put yourself in, Carl. And your greatest idea is to make a 4-hour video doing the same things that got you in trouble. Guys, I would just rip on this guy and just clown on him. But when you have a family, there's certain things at some point I'm just sitting going there, this is just sad, right? As a father, it is your responsibility in life to make sure that your family's doing well. That what you're doing is upholding your marriage, your kids, everything. How does this help his family? It doesn't. It puts him in jeopardy, right? And it all comes from this complete insanity that YouTube does to these people, right? YouTube can get in your brain. It gives them just this egomaniac, egomaniac standards, egomaniac thinking. You have one guy here pretending to be a journalist. Carl, you are not a real journalist. You're an entertainer, quite a successful one. You don't need to be a journalist. You are not a journalist, right? In a business sense, you are not a journalist. And in many countries, you would not be considered a journalist because, different countries have different laws. I'm not a lawyer, right? When it comes to this, it comes to California law, I go to my lawyer and ask, and I live in California. This guy lost in court, obviously doesn't know anything about Australian law to the tune of 1 mil, right? But now he's going to be an expert on California law, right? This guy's ego is so insane, right? His self-perception is so diluted that when a lawyer like the Moon Channel disagrees with him, he's going to tell the lawyer why he's wrong. Right? These are like the stupidest people in the world. Like the people you hire an electrician, he comes in, he's going to fix your house, tells you that you're in danger of fire and it's going to cost you so much, and you disagree. Right? You can go get another quote, but you're not going to tell the electrician why he's wrong. You're not an electrician. But Carl knows everything about the law, so much so that he can correct lawyers. So, he's better at law than lawyers. He's a better journalist. He's a legend in his own mind. And every country is different, guys. And it's okay. Why is it bad to be a successful entertainer that makes hundreds of thousands of dollars? How is that bad? You don't have to be, whatever. You don't have to make up titles. The other idiot wants to be an engineer without being an engineer, right? And this is going to be a clown show, guys. If they get Gerard's family pissed off, they have millions. They can drop $500,000 just to make sure that for the rest of your life you're sending them a check. This is insane. I mean, even to make a half-hour video would be crazy, but to make a 4-hour video, they're just going to take this video and just give it to the judge. Judges that already know you as a shit talker, that already know you as a man of poor character that doesn't tell the truth or whatever they said there. At some point you have to accept your losses. Dude, you're not good at this. Accusing people of crimes or wrongdoings and whatever the hell you do is not something that you're good at. You're not a good investigative journalist, not even a pretend one. Because I don't know of any. You guys tell me, do you guys know of any uh, fake journalists or journalists that have lost this amount of money and then double down and do it again even worse? Guys, it's just sad. I mean, what set them off is that the completionist called him a fake journal and this guy a fake engineer. Well, he's telling the truth, right? In a business sense, let me tell you, as a business analyst, let's say I'm doing an audit and people are just saying they are things. Part of my job would be to go in there and verifying their knowledge. You have to establish your expertise for liability purposes. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you can do stupid shit like Carl Jobs did here and lose $1 million in court because he doesn't know. He never went to school. He doesn't know about defamation and jurisdiction issues, right? He doesn't know about publication across borders, right? He doesn't know about the U.S. defamation standards. Just Googling stuff doesn't make you a lawyer. Again, this guy thinks he's so good at what he does that he can disagree with the Moon Channel, an actual lawyer, and tell him why he's wrong. Correcting lawyers about the law. I wouldn't do that. I don't correct my mechanic. I don't correct my electrician. I don't correct my plumber because those are not my areas of expertise. I didn't study that. If you disagree with a professional because you Googled something, let me tell you, you're an idiot. Just like Carl Jobs is acting like an idiot here. Right? The reason you want expertise, right? The reason in business we check for knowledge, competency, is because you don't want those kind of liabilities. I could be, doing an assessment in a company, and I'm going through everybody's training records, and I'm looking for machinists. I want certified machinists, right? I don't want a guy that just knows because he knows, right? I need to get him certified. That's what I need to do. Why? Because if he makes a part, an example for an airplane, and he makes it wrong, and then the airplane falls down, there's going to be an issue there if this guy just learned on the job and they just hired him off the street. Oh, I used to work at, Burger King, and then I started working here as a machinist. I learned on the job. Hey, you're going to learn by making a lot of mistakes, and some of those mistakes are costly. That's the same thing that happened here to Carl. And it's okay. I mean, these guys make plenty of money by being entertainers. A lot of countries have issues, for example, with journalists, right? They have delineations where they say, okay, you can be a journalist as long as you're reporting. The minute you monetize for entertainment purposes, that doesn't qualify you as a journalist. You might be liable for that because you're doing it for another reason. Whatever. Every country's different. I wouldn't know. I would have to ask my lawyer, right? I have those kind of questions. But the fact that he could have spent $40,000 in college and become a good journalist, right? And he can still do it. Instead of doing these stupid 4-hour videos, he could be, taking hybrid classes. He could do the sacrifice and actually become a good journalist. He won't do it. He just wants to talk shit, right? He's an entertainer. He's a YouTuber. That's what sets you off, right? The completionist called you out for being a fake journalist, and that really pissed you off, and that set you off, and then you made a 4-hour video that just made it worse. The narcissism here is off the charts, man. Some point you have to say, I'm wrong. I'm wrong about this. I'm wrong about that. This guy doesn't seem to have anybody in his life to tell him when to check him, right? I don't, guys, like for example, me, I have my wife, I have my kids, whatever, my friends, they'll tell me, hey, dude, you're too much on this, you too much on that. You need to ease up on this, right? And I sit there and reflect, okay, yeah, you know what, you're right. Or I have one of my colleagues is an expert in another field. I have decades of experience in some things, but I don't have in others. So if somebody tells me, hey, watch out for this, I don't dismiss them. I have to look at what they're saying and validate whether what they're telling me is true or not. Not if you're Carl Jobs. If you're Carl Jobs, you know everything about the law in Australia, even though you lost $1 million. You know everything about the law in the U.S., even though a guy from the U.S. came down and kicked your ass in court. You're doing it again. You're done. Don't get me wrong, guys. I mean, it's going to be entertaining to watch if the completionist sues him, because at this point, why wouldn't he? Right? But what does he have left? What is the judge going to say? Like, you again? Are you still talking shit after losing $1 million? He's going to be the same as me. He's going to be incredulous. And after all the stuff they wrote afterwards about these judges, you think that's not going to come up in court? This is, I can't even believe it, guys. I would sit here and just rip the guy forever, but it's sad when you have a family, when you have kids, when you're married. This is not the thing to do. Please, Carl. Not for you. Forget about your ego for once. Put it away. Do what's good for your family. But I'm sure he won't. I don't know if I could cover this anymore, guys. It's just sad. Everybody's sad here, right? You have two guys that were talking crap about another guy for lying, and they're both liars. One is a pretend engineer, the other one's a pretend journalist, and lost $1 million, and they're crapping on a guy that lied about a charity. He's the only guy with a degree, by the way. Buried his career. The other guy's so sad that he doesn't even listen to his own parents and say, you know what, go back to school, go get an engineering degree, go get a real degree, go do something with your life. No, this guy is 40 and wants to play video games. If Carl Jobs wanted to do a video on that, hey, go right ahead. Clown on the guy. But you're talking about the law. You're talking about accusing these people of wrongdoing, not one, but many. Are you insane? This is absolutely nuts. Billy Mitchell is going to have a great time with this, I'm sure. I don't know that I could cover this anymore, guys, because the stupidity at some point just gets too too much for me. It really does. I mean, uh, and I know everybody's waiting for the completionist to sue him, and Carl is just begging to be sued, just begging to be sued. Is anybody going to be surprised when this guy gets served papers? I don't think so. Not after this video. Man, what a disaster. What a clown show. The internet is happy that this is all going on. And I would be happy probably if it was just Carl. But just thinking that he has a family just makes it freaking sad. All right, humans, I will catch you on the next one. Take care.